Live streaming from the same spot that I always do. Well, I mean, from my hostel. So it's it's uh, it's it's morning time, and yeah, I'm just gonna do a quick live stream today. I went out a little. I have a video up and running. It is in a playlist, but as soon as I get off of this, I'll go ahead and post it right away. And yeah, it was just a little bit of a day of exploring. I was able to actually go out and just check out a few spots in town. I dropped by the mall there, the Mega Mall, which you'll see in the videos. It looks like most of the stores were closed on the inside, but I don't think like permanently closed. I'm just not sure if it was because it was the day after Merdeka that they had it all. A lot of the stores closed, or because they were doing some major work on the escalator. So maybe some of the stores decided while that work was being done that they weren't going to be open. Or maybe the mall's just struggling. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, so it was a little bit of a ghost, what do you say, a ghost mall when I went in. But what I saw is I saw that they had a second-hand or gently used store in there. And I was like, I like thrift stores, so I went in there. Hang on a second, guys. They kicked me out of the chat room. I'm trying to get back in. So anyway, looks like we got Ali, Flea, and me so far lively in the chat room. I'm gonna be, so yesterday I did the mall and then I went down south a little over the bridge to the beach down there. And like I said, that's basically all I did yesterday, but it was still, it still took up most of my day. And today I probably am just gonna be focusing on educating myself on some stuff. Like I need to learn how to make shorts and stuff like that. Hey Doug, how you doing, Doug? I was gone. Okay, so Doug, I was gone last night and just got back to my hotel in KL. Okay, yeah, Doug. Like I said, I'm gonna be making this just short. I stayed up to about 2 o'clock doing editing, and it was funny because I just didn't think it was that big of a productive day. I did a little bit of a gear shop yesterday, not intentionally. I actually went into the store, the mall, and I know, Doug, you like gear and stuff, so I bought a few items for my DJI, but that was like a last minute thing. I went in just to see what the thrift store, the secondhand store was like, and it was pretty big. But I just didn't see much. They did have like a North Face that's not on the video. It's like 120 liter. Like, I mean, the backpack would be literally this high above your head if you had it fully packed. Yeah, it's North Face. The heavy zippers on it, and it was only like 40 ringgit, and it was in really good shape. So 40 ringgit is like $10. But I'm not gonna I don't need a bag that big. The bag I have already is 35 liter, and that's only that big because of my my sleeping, my hammock and stuff like that. I had a 20, so I dropped from a 50 to a 20 because when I was on the Camino Trail, I was carrying a 50 at first that I got at Decathlon in Spain, but all of a sudden I started feeling it in my neck up here, and I realized, I was like, oh yeah, it's been a while since I carried this much weight. I forgot I have a really bad lower neck, you might say, problems when carrying too much weight. So since there's no real reason to carry that. Every 5 kilometers, you're going into another town that has a restaurant, a spot to sleep, coffee shop. So on the Camino, there's absolutely no reason that you should be carrying that much weight. So I went back to Decathlon and I just basically ditched the 50 and we dropped to a 25, which forced me to reduce in weight. It's funny because at Decathlon they actually had a 25, and the 25 is only like this size. It's like one of these things, but it had an interior frame. I'm like, yeah, a 25 with an interior frame is like, he's like, why do you need an interior frame? What? Because the frame's too dispense that weight evenly across your whole back, and also put more of the weight on your waist, where you should be carrying almost all your weight is on your waist and not on your shoulders. And I was like, yeah, but on a 25, what are you going to be? You're not going to have enough weight where you need to dispense it. You don't need to carry. And it had a belt. I had to buckle on the belt and all this, but I got it anyway. And it actually turned out to be a really good backpack. But when I went to Japan and I bought the hammock, I was strapping the hammock underneath, and every time I'd set down the backpack and pick it back up, it started eating through the bag, and I didn't want it to eat into the actual hammock itself. So I decided I better get something that's larger and start carrying my backpack, my hammock on the inside of my backpack. So that's where I went into a used thrift store, and I found a Montbell, which is a very expensive Japanese-based, at least mostly in Japan is where I saw them, outdoor stores, but they're expensive. They're like 4 times as expensive as REI. Okay. So yeah, I'm going to keep it short today there, everyone, if you didn't hear. The shorts, police says the shorts are meant to compete with TikTok, and I don't think YouTube has succeeded. I know basically the shorts trying to get monetized through shorts is completely ridiculous, because you need something like 1 million watch hours in a month. It's crazy the requirement, but the shorts can be used as advertisement for your channel. So that's what I'm actually going to do. I'm going to try and take some of my more popular videos that people seem to watch and break that up, and then some maybe of some of, I don't know, my favorite parts or something. I'm doing this just to more or less learn how to make shorts and get better at it. Same way that I'm doing these so much is so I can learn how, the live stream. It's like learn it through repetitiveness. Anyway, you know what I'm saying. Do it over and over again until you get good at it. So my thing is shorts. I need to learn that next. I need to dispute a lot of the copyright claims, so I have to actually go through quite a few of them and put in a repeal, which requires me to put in all my information and stuff like that. But I'm going to repeal all of them. That way, yeah, and just it's a day of education for me. So that's what I'm planning on doing. Yesterday I thought was just going to be a short day, so I did a mall. I went out to a pier and did a beach down south a little bit. There's a nice little beach down there, but it's annoying. As soon as you get to the beach, you can either go left or right, but you can't. The whole beach is blocked off by these 2 big resorts. So the actual beach that is listed is like, basically it's fenced in. It's like private beach or something. But you can go left and actually end up at a nice beautiful pier and stuff like that with a very popular restaurant out there. They must be good because they were pretty packed. And then you can go the other way, which is more southern, and you end up into some of the old neighborhoods and stuff like that, which was really cool, seeing some of the buildings of the older neighborhoods and stuff like that. And so that was my big day out. So I'll have that video up right after I get off of doing this. So I probably won't have a video for today. I'm just going to keep it very simple. I'm not going to pick up my DJI as much unless I get bored, and then I just go out and just start filming wherever I'm going. They have to be in vertical format, as most TikTok users view. Yeah, I know that they have to be in, police saying that the shorts have to be in vertical. I realize that. I'm going to have to actually, that's why I have to take my videos and put them down into vertical format, the sections I want and stuff like that. And I just have to learn how to do it. So, but it's good advertisement for the channel. and it's the next step in my evolution of learning how to have a proper channel. So yeah, just keep learning, keep moving forward, keep yeah, keep evolving. So. Uh, no, okay. You went back to Port Dixon? Yeah. Port Dixon's actually pretty nice. I look forward to actually getting back over there when I complete the loop. It was, it had good prices on accommodations there. 40 liter is, yeah, 40 liter for a day pack. Yeah, I mean, that's a big day pack. Um, Yeah, I mean, honestly, it is. I mean, because well, unless if you're good at forcing yourself not to fill up a backpack, but that's the thing is I don't know anybody that can actually not fill up a backpack. So if you're just going out for a day pack, you pretty well can get away with it if it's not fully packed because you're not going to have the time since it's just a day out and a day back. You're not going to have the time to fill it up. But if you're doing longer amounts of time traveling. Like I said, okay, so one time I knew I was taking off, and so just gear is always an evolving thing. It's like because I think it's because the seasons change, right? So summer gear is different than winter gear, but you're constantly evolving in what you actually have and stuff like the type of uh, cordage that you prefer to have. Is it mule line? Is it bank line? Is it 550 paracord? It's like, so it's just something, but that's always changing. But the thing is your backpack really justifies how much you can take with you. And if you have a smaller one, then it really keeps you minimalistic. And but if you have a huge one, you're going to end up filling that thing up. So I bought a backpack. It was an 80 liter military, which they call like trash can style, where it just opens up top. You stuff your stuff in and go, like a trash bag almost. But with an interior frame and everything. And I just bought it empty and took off. And it was funny because after just like 2 months of traveling, I think it was around 2 months, I got back and the thing was full of just stuff like, finding cordage. Every time you find a shoe on the ground, you take this, like the shoelace out because, I mean, you got a nice piece of cordage now from that. And people just ditch their camping gear a lot of times. They just like, so you find like, even like a tent stake, a tent pole can be used as a punk stick. A punk stick is like when you blow through it to keep a fire going, and reignite it. And, it's a long, hollow fiberglass, so it's like it won't burn from the fire, and you easily get stoke the fire again, and it gets going. Let me catch up on these real quick. Yeah, this might be today's video, guy, Flea, just because um, that's the thing is basically I'm kind of a creature of habit, so I know just right out this door, like if you go over I already put them on camera, go right over the road here, over the crosswalk. There's some really good Indian food, but right down, there's another restaurant right here that's also like Indian food and very reasonable price. I think I got a drink and some chicken curry, rice, and some vegetables and stuff like that. And everything together, I think, came out to 13 ringgit. So the food must have been around 9 ringgit. And anyway, it was really good. So the food's decent priced here. Yeah, camera gear. Yeah, that's something I'm not used to. Is actually the space that the camera gear actually takes up. So I did buy 2 new items for the camera, which I'm happy about, and not super expensive, but It's I noticed something about the DJI. Hang on a second, I'm reading something. You zoomed out of the Klang Valley, zoomed out of the quickly last time. If you get back to KL, try to get a day trip to the Sky Mirror in, is that the Sky Mirror? Okay, I have to look up what that is. There's something I missed is like what's called a skywalk. I'm not sure if that's what you mean by Sky Mirror, but one thing is I'm not real good with heights. Some heights don't bother me. Like, too high, sometimes it doesn't register that I'm high. So it's like when I'm in very high, like airplane trips don't bother me. But there's somewhere around once you start getting between, a little over like a story and a half. That's where it's like sometimes it starts to register in my head that I don't know what it is. It's funny because I've worked in construction such a long time, and it doesn't go away. It's just one of those things. So sometimes heights will get me, and then sometimes it just doesn't register, and so it's one of those things that's just off and on. So something like a sky with like where you walk out on a clear piece of glass or something, and you can look straight down. That might get me. Doug did a crossing across the. I'm not sure if you guys watched Planet Doug's just I think 2 videos back or something. He went on one of those trolleys across where you pull yourself across the valley, and it's a big old drop. And he had his 360 camera. That would actually get me because all of a sudden it would register in my brain like, oh, you're going to drop the camera, and then I get nervous because I'm about ready to drop the camera. I did that once in, I think it was Japan. Yeah, it was. I was crossing over a river, and it was one of those swaying, it was a walking bridge, but it was, the type, when you're walking across, it starts to sway because just your movement on it. Well, I got halfway across with my camera before it even registered, the heights even registered in my head. And then it hit me because I was already halfway out, and I started freezing up. I was like, oh, wait a second, I'm not real good with heights. I forgot about that. But it was too late. I was already halfway out, so it was like, regardless, I might as well keep going forward. And yeah, it was funny because all of a sudden it was like, what if you drop your camera, right? Because it was, at the time it was my phone. I'm like, oh yeah. Oh wait, if I drop, why am I worried about it? And then like looked down, I was like, oh yeah, this is very high, and yeah. So so I'm scared of heights, but sometimes I forget I'm scared of heights. And then I remember after I'm up in the heights. So, okay, Flea, yeah, remind me where the sky mirror is maybe later in like a Telegram or something like that, and I'll drop a pin on it, on the location. That way when I do get back to KL or something like that, I'll be able to go visit that area. Yeah, CS, nice to see you, brother. Yeah, the place here does have lockers and big enough to actually fit your backpack in. I hate some spots give you like a small locker and it's not big enough for the backpacks that everybody carries. You have to go pick up your own lock. When I was downsizing, I threw away all my locks because it was like extra weight. So I went out and bought another one, but just a small one, just a small enough deterrent to make sure that people don't break in. And that's all it takes is a small deterrent, Yeah, that's why I said the Sky Bridge is probably, I don't know. The thing is I'm not real good with heights, but I still want to go skydiving, and I want to take like a hot air balloon trip and stuff. Do you see? Those might not register as being high. Like I could, because being in the basket might be enough security for my head to be like, nah, we're cool, right? So it's like I don't know what triggers that once in a while, like the vertigo. I don't know what triggers the vertigo, so. Yeah, and sometimes like in doing roofing or framing or something like that, when you're up higher and stuff, Sometimes you got to just push past it. Now, I was on top of a cinder block wall, and we were pumping the cement through from the truck down into the parts with the rebar and stuff like that. And I was the one that was supposed to be standing on the top of the wall and walking the hose down and filling up the cinder blocks where the rebar would come up. And I had a little problem with that because I'm walking across something like that, you know. And I mean, it wasn't like super high, but it was, you know, a story plus, and carrying that big old hose is about like this big, you know, that the cement's coming out of. So that one bothered me. But who knows? It might the sky doing the skywalk might not, you know. But I'm pretty sure it would. I think that one would actually register because I'd be looking down at my feet and past my feet to the ground. But also, I used to jump off bridges though. So down at the river, so I'm not scared of jumping off high things down into water. So I can stand on a cliff and look down at the water and jump off and have fun. So that doesn't register either. So like I said, I don't know what actually kicks it in. And yeah, I was jumping off a bridge as a kid, you know. It's funny, so the Ponderosa Bridge was like 3 levels: the lower level, the middle level, and the high level. And the lower level is where I learned to jump off. You have to climb down to it. And my dad's like, just hang off the bottom, right? And he goes, and then you can drop, you know. And it was funny because I was hanging off the bottom, and then I decided it's still too high for me. I'm going to get back up. And my dad's just standing there. So but I was hanging there for such a long time, I kind of lost all the blood in my arm. So when I tried to get up, I just went, and I couldn't get up. And my dad just kind of laughed and looked at me and goes, now what are you going to do? He's like, there's only one choice. He's like, you got to let go. So once I let go and I dropped down into the water, I mean, you know, it probably wasn't that high. It was probably about maybe 30 feet. You know, 30 feet on the bottom, and then 40 to the center, and then 50 to the top. At least as a kid, since I'm so small, don't take that as fact, because you know, when you're a small kid, everything looks a lot bigger. But yeah, that was so much fun. I ran back up and started jumping, and then they had a rope swing, which was you stood up on the bridge, and it was a tow strap that was tied to the center, and then you pull it tight, right? And it's got like a big old 2x4 on it. And you sit on the 2x4, but you have to keep the line tight, and you have to jump off. The guy's like, okay, you see those rocks down there? He goes, jump at the rocks. He goes, don't worry, before you hit the rocks, it'll swing you out and over the water. And yeah, it doesn't sound safe, but that was one of the big things to do. And you know, when you grow up in a poor town with poor people, you learn to do things that are free. And free things are cool, man. It's just, you know, it was a way of life, you know. Free things are like going to the park, going to well, even the pool, you know. The public pool was a way to actually get your kids out of, you know, during summer, to get them out of, you know, your hair, is to put them in like swimming lessons or something like that, because it was super cheap and stuff. And in the smaller towns, a lot of times, if you couldn't afford stuff, there was like government programs for like the food and stuff like that. So you still got a free breakfast and a free meal and stuff if you couldn't afford the 50-cent ticket for, you know, lunch or whatever. But okay, let's see, last video, Hidden Hammock was using a 360. Yeah, I noticed Doug mentions here, I noticed in the latest video from Hidden Hammock, who is a regular on this channel, was using a 360 camera. Is that new, or has he, I think he's had it for a while. I don't think it's new, I just don't think he's used it a lot. So I'll have to ask him about that. Or actually, I need to go over his videos and see if where was the last time I'm almost positive I've seen him use it before, but it might be the fact that it's just easier to grow. I know he mentioned this in the past, and it could be that he was talking about the 360, that he realized it's just easier to use his phone camera. So he started doing the live streams on his phone, like I'm doing right now. And then I think he just more or less went back to doing the videos on his phone because I mean, he has a good phone for it, an Apple. Um, so he might have just broke out the old 360, dusted it off, and took it for the ride. So I think that's actually the situation, Doug. I think he's had it, that he just ended up using his phone camera more often. But I'll try and ask him. Um, but yeah, no, his last video was really good. His interactions that he's having with the locals are crazy. Um, he's got one of those extrovert type of mentalities, like eating the bugs and stuff like that. I was like, that was like it kind of reminded me of that travel cooking show where that guy would like eat all that weird stuff, and I was like, oh man, yeah, he ate the grubs and stuff. It was crazy. So if you guys haven't seen Hidden Hammock's last one in Vietnam, go check it out. It's really good. I'm surprised that the material that he's getting is actually, it's kind of, it makes me green with envy some of the how well some of these people can actually just comfortably get along with the locals and stuff like that. And sometimes I struggle with that, just being the way I am, being an introvert and stuff like that. A lot of times I prefer to figure stuff out myself, or I'm not a big person to ask for help hardly ever, unless it's like almost too late. I literally was drowning once, and that was like the first when my back. So I was sitting down at the river that goes through Reno, and I was sitting down there with my big old backpack, my bottle of vodka, and my feet were actually in the water. And the river runs right through the center of Reno. And I'm sitting there, I'm getting pretty plowed, on my bottle. And I was like, okay, it's time to get up and get out of the park. And it's the main park right there in the middle of town where they usually have bluegrass music. And I had this huge chain sport, backpack. So I'm a little toasted from the alcohol. I get up and I put the backpack on, and it pulls me straight back, into the water. Well, at first it's shallow water, so I kind of laugh because right in front of everybody, I fall over backwards into the water drunk, right? Well, that little shallow water was still enough to pull me out into the deeper water, and it pulled me out quick because I was like, oh, it's starting to pull me out. But before I knew it, it was taking me into the rapids. And if you don't know about the Reno rapids, they were man-made rapids, so they're like almost like slides that go like this, and they have undertows, and they're made for kayak competitions and stuff like that, so that they can have kayak competitions in the middle of town, and everybody can go there and just watch and stuff. And Reno's a really nice spot. I mean, it's way better than Vegas. It's more family oriented, more like, but it's a lot smaller. They limit the amount of casinos that can be there. But yeah, the water just took me out, and the backpack's so heavy, along with the undertow, that I was just getting dragged across the bottom, and I was getting drowned. And before I realized, I was like, why are you still holding on to your backpack? Because I'm thinking, I can't lose my backpack. So I ditched the backpack. I was like, no, I can't do this. The backpack's drowning me. So I ditched the backpack. But by that time, I was just completely exhausted because being dragged across the bottom of the water, not hitting any rocks, because remember, they're man-made rapids. So they're safe, but they still drag you across the smaller rocks and stuff. There's no huge boulders to, crash up against. So by the time I did pop up my head, I was just completely exhausted, and I was going under again. So that was the first time I screamed for it. I was like, help! And two people jumped in. One guy grabbed my backpack because it was still kind of floating, which was kind of crazy. And it was way too heavy. He's like, no, I can't do this. It took two people to pull my backpack out. That's what I'm talking about, too much gear. Because I was carrying a lot of camping gear and stuff. Because I spent a lot more time out in the wilderness and stuff. And another guy dragged me up. I lost my shoe because it was going under, and the rapids dragging me along the way. And I swallowed a lot of water, and I was completely exhausted, so I was just laying there and with no shoe on, completely soaked. And a cop walks up and goes, "You can't lay there." I'm like, "Man, I just drowned. These people actually literally had to save me from the water." He goes, "Yeah, I saw it." He goes, "But you still can't lay there." I mean, I'm like, "Dude, I don't even have shoes." He's like, "Yeah, go to the homeless shelter down there. They'll give you shoes, but you can't lay there." I mean, inconsiderate type of, BS, man. But that's when I realized, that's the first time I've actually screamed for help, because it was so unlike me that it registered in my brain that, hey, you've never really done this before. You never actually, said, "Hey, can someone help me here?" It's not, so it's so against my character to do that type of thing that it registered as, yeah, you've never really actually asked for people for help. But yeah, so that was the time I almost drowned, but I almost died a few times from different things, from lack of oxygen and hyperthermia, and these are lessons learned and stuff like that. And it's some of the hazards of doing this life and that's why you need the knowledge. You really need to know how to build a shelter, a debris shelter, and stuff like this. You need to know how to actually try and start a fire. You don't need to know how to use a bow saw, and you don't need to know any type of friction saw. If you want to carry around a ferro rod, I'm not going to talk crap against ferro rods, but definitely a Bic lighter is the best because it's instant gratification. Um, I'm not a big fan of waterproof matches because in the same amount of space that the waterproof matches take up, you can just have another Bic lighter. So instead of having like a camera roll like container full of waterproof matches, you could just stick a lighter in that and get way more lights. And it's very easy to dry out a Bic lighter. You just blow on it, roll it backwards against itself a little bit, and then it lights up. So people are like, "Well, it gets wet." No, yeah, it gets wet, but you can dry it out very easily. So anyway, that's an argument within the bushcrafting field. Is you got the pro waterproof matches and the ones that just think it's a waste of space when you can have a better alternative. But the alternative is, so anybody that says ferro rod, no, I support ferro rods. I really do. I think ferro rods are definitely an investment in carrying one of those around. But it's a little more old school. You're trying to start a fire with spark. So that usually requires something like cotton balls mixed with Vaseline, which I actually carry. Um, yeah, I got the Telegram message too coming over. That's what the ding ding was. So thank you, Flea, for the message. I'll go check it later. All right, guys, let's see. We're at a half an hour. So I'm going to throw the video on next. I'll just throw it up. I won't do the premiere because we'll just call this our chat room. If you guys need it to get a hold of me, always look for the link in the description for my Telegram. It's usually one of the last things I check, but at least it stays up there for long enough, and you guys can also just talk amongst each other on that board, and that way I don't miss it. Some of the comments, YouTube's still not giving me all the comments in a timely manner, so I've noticed like a few from like 2 weeks ago. So if you end up with me hearting something from 2 weeks ago, it's because I never got the message that YouTube never gave me the message about that comment. So, but Telegram I will eventually see. Hi guys, let's see. When was the last time you had a fire at your camp? It's in one of my videos. I think the last time I did it was just to keep the mosquitoes away. It wasn't something I needed because one of the temperature, I'm not cooking on it. Otherwise, I just make like a Dakota fire pit if I needed to cook something. Real quick makeshift one. I think it was in Vietnam. Honestly, you don't need a fire. The whole time I was in Tennessee, I never had a fire, and that's probably why I stayed so long where I was at. Because if I would have had a fire, someone on the freeway would have seen a fire off into the field and could have called the cops. The people down in the campgrounds of America could have looked up on the hill, and if they saw smoke coming up and they knew that there was no one supposed to be up there, then they could have called it. And so your longevity and stealthiness and stuff like that, you should only use propane for cooking and stuff because it's smokeless. But if you want just the relaxation of a fire, because like survivability is 80% mentality, so most of your survival is just the attitude that you bring with you. A fire really helps, and it's a part of a shelter system. So, like when I say you have 3 hours to, the old thing, you have 3 hours for shelter. Uh, the clothing that you have on is a form of shelter, and the fire that you have is a form of shelter because it's body regulation. Because a shelter is basically for regulating body heat. Because if you get wet, you get cold, you die. Your body temperature drops and you die. So having something like a debris hut that you just kind of shimmy back into that keeps you dry is just to regulate your body heat because it keeps you dry, safe, and all that stuff. So something like a fire, one, it has a beautiful mentality and it's just nice to stare at and relax and it makes you feel good. And so there's fire, but it's also for drying out clothing, which is your first defense against the elements. Honestly, I spent a long time just layering properly. So no sleeping bag, no tent, and I did carry around a SOL, a survive outdoors longer type baby sack, just in case the weather got too bad. I could climb into it, and it's waterproof and stuff like that. But that's only like this big, and it's not for like comfortable sleeping. It's just for survivability. And I had to use that once because it got way too cold in Flagstaff, Arizona. I mean, way too cold. The temperature was bad, and I got kicked out of the hotel I was actually in because what happened was I went to the Motel 6 and it was just me, but there was a lot of train riders. There was like 3 train riders with she had the girl had three chihuahuas and a pit bull, so it was like 4 dogs, and we all got into the same room. Everybody snuck in, and they realized that there was a big crowd of us in one room, so we all got kicked out, so we had to sleep in the alley. And that was at the time I wasn't carrying any gear, so I did have that one baby sack on me. So that baby sack was the only thing for staying warm, and yeah, snuggling up against each other basically that night. But all the other train riders were like giving me grief. They're like, "Dude, where's your gear at?" And I'm like, "I'm doing gear free," and they didn't. That's not. They're like, we don't. Yeah, train riders don't go gear free. They always carry gear, and so that was very odd. Is they're like, you're a train rider, but you're not carrying gear? And I was like, yeah, I'm just doing gear free. They're like, yeah, we don't do that. And I was like, yeah, I know we don't do that. So it was like, but I was experimenting, you know what I'm saying? I was seeing how if I could travel around with it without carrying anything, except for what I really needed in my pockets and stuff, like a big lighter and just make everything. So basically, I was making all my shelters, and that was kind of crazy. Yeah, there was a lot of I watched a lot of she says I learned a lot of bushcraft and survival from like Naked and Afraid. Not the best one. Naked and Afraid is not the best one for survival techniques, but Alone was actually pretty decent. The first one. David Canterbury and Cody Lundberg was from the very first. What was it, Dual Survivor, and I really appreciated that one. They both deserve I mean, I have high respect for both of them. Uh, but like, if you talk to any of them, like Cody Lundberg and Matt Graham, who came on the show later, they're both Aboriginal what it's called abo skills. It's like bushcrafting the old school way, you know, like atlatl. You know, they're both atlatl competition. Like they have atlatl competitions, which is basically a throwing spear that has like an extra stick that you use that hooks into the back of it, and when you throw it, it's that extra projectile sling to it. They both actually used to go out to the Arizona area because they're from Arizona. I think Cody's from like uh, is it Payson? I think he's from Payson, and Matt Graham. I'm not quite sure where he's from. I think he's down in the. I don't actually know exactly where Matt's from. Matt was really cool too, but yeah, I watched all of them. One of my favorite shows for like the survival ones was Rotten Survival, and that was also with let's see, David Canterbury, but it also had some of the people from the where they take your house and they redesign your house and stuff like this. I know it's kind of a crazy combination, but anyway. Yeah, I've watched a lot of them. Creek Stewart had his own. Creek Stewart actually had a good survival show, but the books are awesome. So I mean, just if you want to actually learn bushcrafting, some of the best ways is just carrying around the books. I used to love carrying around the books and reading those out in the wilderness and stuff. And then you just figure out what you want to do out of the bushcrafting for the day, something to learn. But anyway, guys, I'm going to go ahead and end this. It looks like 40 minutes is good enough for me. I'm going to jump off. If you guys have anything to say, do it now. Otherwise, I'm going to say good night, y'all. Let's see. I think I got everything. Hello from New Zealand. Hope you all are well. Hey, just playing. We're just getting ready to wrap this up. But I do this at 10 o'clock every day. I might slow it down in the future. I don't know. But for right now, I'm just, you know, it's something to do. Since I don't have to edit the lives, they don't really take anything but a little time for me. So I can turn them on, and I don't have to actually worry about doing any editing. So once I'm done, it's processed. So I don't mind doing the lives every day. There'll be a few days, but if it starts to slow down and, you know, stuff like this, I might cut back. I don't know. If you guys keep joining me, then I'll just keep doing them. So for right now, I'm just going to do every day at 10 o'clock Malaysian time. I don't know what that is in the rest of the world. So if you missed today, just, you know, join me tomorrow or the next day or the next day. I might not have anything to talk about, but it still seems like I'm doing 40 minutes. I always have something to blab about. So anyway, guys, now you know I almost drowned. Bushcrafting is always something I really enjoy because when you're out in the middle of nowhere and you actually have a real book, not this, but an actual book that you can turn the pages at. There's nothing better than, especially if your shelter's already built. Yeah, there's some good times there, I remember, but once the winter starts hitting, you know, sometimes it's better just to snowbird, go down where it's warmer and stuff instead of trying to fight, you know. Jack Frost can be a mean son of a gun if he wants to be. So sometimes it's best to just run from him. All right, guys, I'm going to jump off. See you guys later, and today's probably going to be a day of just learning, so no video now for today, but I'll have yesterday's posted immediately as soon as I get off this. But I'll probably take whatever I do today and combine it with tomorrow, and just 2 days together. All right, guys, peace out, and you guys have a good day today. Bye.